got a really exciting video today, and I'm just gonna jump straight into it. That dude in blue is gonna be reviewing my turbo truck, and I am super excited. Also, I've got T-minus 5 days to get this thing completely buttoned up, every issue that I've had resolved, and 400 miles away to Denver, because that's where he's gonna be at. So let's get into it. A few things that need fixed. It's got a cracked exhaust manifold, and the muffler is also breaking off of the exhaust. So we're gonna fix those things, see anything else that might need fixed, wrap up some cosmetic things, and get this thing 100% ready for what I would consider the big screen. Time to pull the turbo truck in. This thing's been sitting a little bit neglected. We just threw a battery in it. It hasn't been started in a long time, so we're gonna see how it does. Let's see. A little bit of a stumble, but it did great. All right, let's get it pulled in. That was the quietest burnout ever. The last time I did a burnout in the Corolla, everyone in the comments was mad at me because of their speakers, and I understand, it's outrageously loud. Love this thing.
Start it up.
All right, so it's the next day. Last night we went ahead and we tore the turbo truck down. We got the turbo and manifold off. We got a bunch of the intake piping off. We replaced this with a solid piece again because I had taken this off so that we could put the mass airflow sensor over here. Ended up not working. So we're just cleaning some things up. We've got some intake piping over there that I've been painting, and we got the turbo off here. We ran into one of our first major issues, and that's this turbo manifold. We broke a bolt off in it when we're pulling it off. So right now I'm currently vice gripping to this side so I can hopefully screw it the rest of the way through, get this little bit out, chase these threads, try and clean it up, and get some new bolts in there. And also our turbo drain line, which I knew had a small leak. Well, that small leak turned into a big leak, and we lost probably a quart of oil all over the ground. So less than ideal situation this morning, but that's all right. We're gonna get it figured out. I'd like to get the manifold figured out, re-welded because it needs welded in there. And then after we get the manifold welded, figured out, all the bolts good, we can replace the turbo drain line and start putting that part back together. Really, there's not a ton to do. A lot of it's just pretty labor intensive. So I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna get back to it, and hopefully by this evening, we can start putting things back together. I went ahead and I actually managed to get the broken bolt off without any major issues. So I went ahead and traced all these threads, and I wire wheeled as best off as I could on the inside. I wire wheeled the outside. I got this manifold as clean as I could get it. I used some brake clean and some acetone to try and get any of the soot that was on the inside off, especially after I wire wheeled it. This is about as clean as I think I can get it. But I realized one thing, and that's I am pretty sure I can get a solid bead all the way up the crack that I have in the manifold from the inside. So that means I'll be able to get an inside and outside bead on this crack, which should resolve any issues we have. Having a bead on the inside and the outside will help seal it up better, and it'll be less likely to crack again, hopefully. All in all, I'm not super disappointed that this thing cracked. It's the first ever turbo manifold I've built, and also it is one of the first major TIG welding projects I ever took on. I bought a TIG welder, and shortly thereafter I built this, and it lasted probably 6,000 or 7,000 miles before it cracked, and then it finally cracked, and the crack's just been getting worse. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna button that up, and that should get us back up the 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds of boost we lost, because we were pushing about 13, now it pushes about 11. So I'm hoping that welding this up will resolve that issue. We're also fixing a few other things, so this thing should be back up to its prime in no time. All right, and we went ahead and we've got the grill pulled apart because we're taking this blue coupler that was on here and we're changing it out. We had a blue coupler with a 45 and everything went just about like this, and the tube came over and I just didn't really like the look of it, and I really hated the blue coupler because you could see it through the grill. So I got a black coupler here that's going to be also a straight 90, which is going to clean this tube up because it'll come straight back, and then we'll just have that go up into the turbo, clock the turbo a little bit, and everything will look a lot cleaner. I just got back from the hardware store where I got 4 new bolts to mount this turbo on because the old ones were gross and I had that broken one that I had to remove. Went ahead and we're putting this manifold back together. We got the wastegate on it, we got the turbo back on it, turbo's clocked proper, and we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna throw the turbo back on this thing, and we should be just about ready to start actually putting things together. We're gonna put the turbo and manifold, wastegate on, get everything connected to the exhaust, get the new turbo drain hooked up, and everything should be good to go. Then we should be ready to finish wrapping up this intake piping a little bit more, make sure everything's tight, and the engine will be back to being able to start, and we're gonna start finishing crossing things off the list. We've gotten a few things off. This is about to be crossed off. We fixed the muffler. We've done a fuel system check. We did a battery tie down. I just went ahead, and this is a piece of stainless steel, and I added a tab and a rivet nut to the front of this bracket. The back already had bolt holes, and I've got some bolts that'll go through that'll hold the battery down nice and secure. I fixed the exhaust to where it actually stays in the hole in the bumper because it was moving around a lot, but it's a lot more secure now, so it shouldn't come over, because all of this is because this exhaust shifted over and all the exhaust was just kind of coming up and around in there. So we've got a few more things to take care of. The list is pretty long. Got to like rotate the tires, add some heat shielding. We've loomed most of the wires, but we are finally getting a bit of things wrapped up on this thing. So hopefully we can soon take it for a test drive, make sure things are good to go, make sure it's dialed in. Today's Wednesday. We plan on driving this thing, either driving or trailering it Friday evening to Denver, which is about 6 hours away. So I want to make sure this thing is put back together and at least have a few miles on it before we head to Denver. That way we know when we get there that we have no issues and David can drive it without having something stupid or catastrophic or anything like that happen. So if I can get it done today on Wednesday, have a test day tomorrow, drive it a bunch, make sure everything is good to go, and then be ready to go Friday so that we're not rushing things on the last minute. We got the engine bay back together and it is looking a ton better. So we've got everything blacked out. There was a silver tube here and this was not painted. Everything's painted now. All the couplers are black. We rerouted this when we put the 90 instead of the 45 on here. Put a black coupler on so you can't see it from up front. We've got this rerouted to where these aren't close to touching anymore. Everything's nice and clearanced. We've got a battery tie down that's actually a battery tie down for the first time. We've got the fuse block mounted for the first time, a bunch of wires loomed. I'm really liking how much better it's looking. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna start it up, see how it sounds. Hopefully we don't hear the nasty exhaust leak that we heard before that was just making us lose boost. And all in all, I think it should be a huge improvement. That was a crazy exhaust leak. I'm gonna guess something's not tight. I'm gonna go through and figure out what's going on there. So when I was putting everything together, the fitment on my wastegate to the dump flange in the tube just didn't seem, now I'm not gonna say my fitment's been perfect every time I put this together, but literally every time I put this together, it has just flown together and I had no issues. And this time I just didn't line up quite right. I had to like flex the flex joint just a little bit, and lo and behold, the fire ring on the wastegate wasn't fully sealed. So I went ahead and I just pulled it off and put it back on. You can't really see what's going on down there. It's way down there, but the wastegate had a little bit of play in it before and it just wasn't seated on quite right. So I went ahead, I pulled off and reinstalled the wastegate, felt a ton better. So I'm gonna start it up and see what it sounds like this time. Hopefully it doesn't sound worse than before. All right, so we finally got this thing out of the garage and we're taking it for its first drive. Hopefully everything goes good. So far it's looking decent. AFRs are good. It's sounding better. It was just that wastegate wasn't lined up quite proper. So hopefully, as long as things go decent on this first drive, check, make sure there's no major leaks, no major issues, we should be good to go. I just want to see that the engine's back good to go, see if we're making the extra couple pounds of boost that we lost, and just overall do a health check. It's been just a wee bit rainy. Let's see what we make for boost. I think my wastegate stuck shut. I'm not supposed to be making 18 pounds. Holy shit. Holy Nike. Yeah, I'd say my wastegate's not opening. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pull over. I'm gonna put my wastegate to the bottom of the reference. So I referenced the bottom of the wastegate and I pushed 3 pounds. I did no reference to the wastegate, I pushed like 9 pounds. So I went ahead and I got a T-fitting and I went straight through to the top of the wastegate and T'd to the bottom of the wastegate. And 12 pounds of boost I hit. I like this a lot better. I mean, 12 pounds is usable. That's a lot better than 25 pounds. Well, after our drive, it still pushes about 12 pounds of boost if I reference the top and the bottom of the wastegate to boost pressure, which is weird to me because it pushes like 9 to 10 if I have no reference whatsoever. This thing might only push 12 pounds of boost for David's drive, but if we're feeling feisty, maybe I'll just take the bottom reference off and tell him to be gentle with his right foot and he can push till pinging. I think we're about ready with the turbo truck. We just did an oil change. It's now pushing enough boost. Seems to feel pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna load this thing up on a car dolly. I thought about driving it up. I just don't have the time if something goes wrong to fix it. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna trailer it up so that it's good to go when we get there. And also so we have air conditioning for the trip up. It's like 90 degrees out and I'm sweating pretty bad. It's real hot out. And the Tacoma has AC and this thing doesn't. So we're gonna go ahead, throw this thing on the car dolly behind the Tacoma and start heading out to Denver here in just a few. All right, we finally got packed up and on the road. We've got the turbo truck behind us. It seems to be doing good on the car dolly. The Tacoma is absolutely kicking butt, doing 75 right up to the speed limit, and we are headed to Denver. Got to stop for fuel in this thing. I'd like to stop and power wash the turbo truck. It's just a want more than a need, but I'm gonna try and do it. I'm 99% sure I'm gonna be able to stop and power wash it. Need to at least get the engine bay looking a little bit better. There's a bunch of grease and grime in there that I don't want in there if it's gonna be shown to a bunch of people. Other than that, the Tacoma seems to be doing good. I might need to stop and get a little bit of oil because it drinks just a little bit, and we're gonna be going about 450 miles. Ain't much to it, but to do it at this point. We're gonna be on the road for the next about 6 hours. It's currently 5:15 or so. So we'll be getting into Denver probably around midnight with the fact that we're towing and we're gonna need to stop for fuel and food and such. So it's gonna be a long night. What a unit right here. So we're hitting the road and hopefully we have no issues. Got about 400 miles. Tacoma's doing awesome. The turbo truck is still back there. It's hanging in there. We're currently 336 miles left on I-25 north. So we're gonna be on I-25 pretty much till we get there because we've got 342 miles to our destination, and 336 of them are on the interstate. So, straight line trucking for a few more hours. Finally getting pretty close. We're in Colorado Springs. And we're heading north to Denver.
All right, it's about 7:30 in the morning. I was supposed to meet David at about 10, but last night about 12:30 he texted me and was like, hey man, my flight got canceled again because of this worldwide internet garbage. So I went ahead and I crashed in a Planet Fitness parking lot in south of Denver. I guess I better get up, go get some caffeine, find a car wash turbo truck off. More than anything, just get out of this parking lot so I don't get any hassle. So
we made it to Denver, and the Tacoma did amazing towing the turbo truck. Honestly, super stoked with how things went. I'm super glad I brought the Tacoma. Air conditioning has been amazing. It's really not, it's hot outside. So I'm really glad I brought the Tacoma. The turbo truck also didn't have any issues getting towed. Everything's looking good. We've got the lights set up. We're about 2 miles from where we're meeting David. We're gonna head out, throw the drive shaft in this thing, get it completely ready, and he should be there in about 20-25 minutes. So we're getting close. That dude in blue is gonna do a car review on my turbo truck, on my little turbo truck. That's pretty cool. So I'm gonna get back to it. We got done driving the turbo truck probably 15 minutes ago. It's been barely enough time for me to get it on the car dolly and get the drive shaft pulled. And it is a torrential downpour out there right now. I'm not sure if you can see the pond that's in front of the shop we're parked in front of, but holy crap, we got done just in time. I'm glad the truck's on, loaded, and strapped, and I don't have to strap it down in this, especially pulling the drive shaft in a pond. Yeah, you can see the lightning behind me. It's going wild. This is a lake. This is not a puddle. There were 2+ feet of water right there. Holy crap. Insane. Oh yeah, that car, I think, oh, a car went through the puddle and was dead. Wow, this is insane. I have never lived somewhere where the freeway comes to a standstill in a rainstorm. Oh, we just popped over the state line. We're finally in New Mexico. And for the first time on our drive, it is not pouring rain. Although you can see some lightning going on in front of us. The fact that it's not pouring is awesome. After spending about 8.5 hours on a 7-hour drive, we got in last night like 5:30 in the morning. It is super late. I was exhausted, but overall the Tacoma did great. The turbo truck did amazing. We had no issues on anything during the driving portion. The weather was absolutely insane. The water was crazy. There was a ton of water. It actually bent the Tacoma or pickup license plate up at a big old angle because of how much water was rushing under it. But I'm just glad we made it home okay. There were no major issues. David seemed to enjoy the truck. Everybody that was there was really taken aback by the truck. None of them really thought much of it till popped the hood, and that's exactly what I wanted. So I'd say all in all, it was a successful trip. I'm gonna go ahead, get it unloaded, get everything settled, and go start working on other projects.